Good day, everybody, and welcome to today's beginner training for Microsoft Excel. My name is Ricardo Jansen. So, today's training is designed for all those individuals who are new to Excel. The course will cover basic functionalities and features, enabling participants to understand and use Excel efficiently for various tasks. The training is structured into 6 modules, and each one will focus on a different aspect within Excel. Each module will include practical exercises to assist you in reinforcing the learning experience. And as this is a recorded session, these will be sent out to you individually later on. Our first module for today is the Introduction to Excel. We will learn about the Excel interface as well as basic navigation and terminology. Let's start with the Excel interface. At the top, you will see the ribbon. The ribbon is where you find all the commands you need to perform tasks in Excel. It is divided into tabs, and each tab contains several command groups. The Home Screen tab is the default tab and contains most commonly used commands. Let's look at the commands you're likely to use as a newcomer to Excel. Under the clipboard, we find commands to cut, copy, and paste. Font contains commands to change to a variety of different fonts saved on your computer, as well as adjust the formatting, such as sizing, text color, cell color, bold, italic, and underline, as well as borders. Alignment adjusts the positions of the text or numbers within the cells. Merge combines cells and centers the data. And wrap text wraps the string of numbers or text into the confines of the cell. Number contains a drop-down of the different formats that a number can take within a given cell. This could be date or number, which contains decimals, currency or accounting. Both of these add the currency symbols, but with slightly different formatting. Now, click on the Insert tab. Here, you can insert various elements like charts, pictures, and tables. Next, we have the page layout. Here, you can adjust your page size, the orientation, or the margins. Next up, we have the Formulas tab. This is the tab that you would use more frequently once you become more familiar with Excel and its functions and features. On the Data tab, we work with sorting and filtering, data validation, and subtotals. The Review tab gives you proofing options such as spelling and thesaurus. It allows you to add comments and notes, as well as protecting your worksheet. And finally, on our View tab, we have Workbook Views, which allows us to see our spreadsheet as we would see it on a page. We have the options to freeze the panes or to view 2 or more Excel spreadsheets side by side. An Excel file is called a workbook. A workbook contains multiple pages called worksheets. Think of a workbook as a book and each worksheet as a page within that book. Excel is organized into columns, rows, and cells. Columns are labeled with letters, rows are labeled with numbers, and each cell is identified by a column letter and row number. For example, A1, B2, C3. When opening up Excel, it gives you a blank workbook to work in. If you have a previously saved workbook that you would like to work on, click on File, click Open, and then select the file you want to open. To close a workbook, go to File, then Close. To save a workbook, click on File, then Save or Save As. Save is used to save changes to an existing file, while Save As allows you to save the file with a new name or in a different location. You can switch between worksheets by clicking on the Sheet tabs at the bottom of the window. You can also add new worksheets by clicking the plus icon next to the Sheet tabs. The worksheet menu can be accessed by right-clicking on a sheet. From this menu, you can add a new sheet using Insert, delete or rename the selected sheet, or move or copy the sheet. This command is particularly helpful if you need to have the same dataset in a different workbook. Our next module will cover basic data entry and formatting, where we learn how to enter and edit data and format the cells to improve readability. Let's start by entering some data. So as per the example, you can see in row 1 we have headings, and from rows 2 to 11 we have the data. For your heading, you will select A1, type date. You could then either press enter or you could press tab. Enter will take you into the row below it, and tab will take you into the next column. In this case, we would want to tab as we would be concentrating on the headers. Once we have entered our headers, we would then go into our rows and enter the data. To edit cell content, you can click on the cell and make changes directly, or you can use the formula bar. To delete content, you select the cell and press delete, or you can right-click the cell and select clear contents. Notice that when you right-click the cell, some of the more commonly used commands are easily accessible from this menu. Let's format our headers. Select row 1 by clicking on the row number. Now go to the Home tab and find the font group. Make the text bold by clicking the B button. Increase the font and you can change your font color. Next, select the date column by clicking on column A. On the Home tab, under the Alignment group, click on the Align Left button as shown by the arrow. Note that some of your alignments that you make won't become immediately apparent unless the height of the row or the width of the columns has been adjusted. For the product column, click on Wrap Text, and this will ensure that long text fits within the cell. You can also change the width of the column or height of the row by hovering your mouse between them. Notice that the cursor changes to a black bar with arrows passing through it. Click and adjust as required, or double-click to automatically adjust the column or row. Next, I selected the unit price and total sales columns. On the Home tab, go into the number group. You'll find a drop-down where you can change the number format. I've selected currency. Notice that I've selected two columns. This is done because there are more than one column that require the same formatting. In Module 3, we will cover working with formulas and functions. And I'll show you basic formulas and functions and how to perform basic calculations. Formulas are essential for calculations in Excel. To create a formula, we always start with an equal sign. For example, if I had a value in cell A1 and cell B1 and I would like to add them together, I would select cell C1 and type equals A1 plus B1 or equals and click on A1 plus and click on B1 and press enter. Let's calculate the total sales for each row by multiplying quantity sold and unit price. In F2, I typed equals D2 multiplied by E2. And you can also enter and edit formulas using the formula bar. Click on cell F2 and look at the formula bar above to see the formula that was entered. You can click into the formula bar to edit the formula if needed. Functions are predefined formulas in Excel. For example, the sum function adds a range of cells. To sum the total sales column, click on cell F12 and type equals sum, open bracket, F2 colon F11 close bracket and press enter. AutoSum is a quick way to sum a range of values. Select cell F12, go to the Home tab and click the AutoSum button. Excel will automatically select the range to sum. In Module 4, Managing Data, we will learn how to sort and filter data, as well as using basic data validation. Sorting helps to organize data. Select the category column by clicking on the column header. Go to the Data tab and click on Sort A to Z. This will sort your information in ascending order. This is whether it is numerical value or in alphabetical order. There is also an option to sort by multiple levels. By clicking on Sort in the Data tab, you can add additional levels such as sorting by product as well as category. Filters allow you to display specific data. Select the header row, go to the Data tab and click on Filter. You will now see drop-down arrows in each of the header cells. Clicking on one of the filter arrows will bring up a menu. This menu will give you options to sort your data. This can be done alphabetically or even by color, as well as filtering also by color or by the contents of the column. You will also have an option to select either one or multiple options on the list provided. Data validation ensures correct data entry. Data validation will allow only specific data to be entered into the cell or given cells based on what you have entered into it. For example, if a cell should only be in a date format, whether it should only be a number value, or even if it should be from a predetermined list. By selecting data validation, you would not be able to override the cell. In this instance, I've selected my quantity sold column and I've clicked on data validation. I want to ensure that only a number greater than 0 is entered into this column, and to do so, I've selected whole number from the Allow dropdown. I've then said any data greater than a minimum of 0. When trying to enter a number of 0 or less, or any text for that matter, an error message will appear, alerting you that the value does not match the validation rule set in the cell. You can also create drop-down lists. For this, I've selected my category column. I've clicked on data validation, and in the settings, under allow, I've chosen list and then entered my list gadgets, thingamajigs, and widgets. After clicking on OK, only those provided names will appear in those cells. Note that you will receive the same error message should any other value try to be inserted. In Module 5, we will be covering basic charts and graphs, learning how to create and customize basic charts, as well as interpreting the visual data. Charts are great for visualizing data. To create a chart, first select the data range you want to chart. For example, I've selected product and total sales columns. Excel offers various chart types: bar, line, pie, column, etc. Let's create a bar chart. With the data selected, go to the Insert tab, click on the bar chart icon, and choose a style. After creating a chart, you can customize it. Click on the chart to select it. Go to the Chart Tools tab. Click Add Chart Element to add a title, axis labels, and legend, if Excel didn't automatically create them already. Based on the data I've selected, I've changed my chart title to Total Sales by Product. You can also change the chart style and colors. With the chart selected, go to the Chart Design tab and select from the variety of options available. You can also change the type of chart you've chosen to one of those mentioned previously. In our final module, Basic Data Analysis Tools, we will learn about basic tools for data analysis, as well as being introduced to pivot tables. Conditional formatting highlights cells based on their values. In this example, I've decided that any sales greater than 70 Rand need to be highlighted. I select my total sales column, and on the Home tab, click Conditional Formatting. I choose Highlight Cell Rules, and then set a rule to highlight cells greater than 70 Rand with a red fill. Subtotals help to summarize data. In my example, I would like a subtotal added to total sales at every change in category. Now, very important to note is that we need to sort our data before we select subtotal. If we do not do this and our data is unsorted, it leads to inaccurate information. With my data sorted, I then go to the Data tab and click on Subtotal. I choose at each change in category to sum the total sales. Under Use function, I use sum, and add subtotal to, I tick total sales. If I wanted the quantity sold, I could also select that, and it will sum up the quantity sold and it would sum up the total sales. The resulting summary gives you the subtotals per category. Pivot tables summarize large data sets. In order to use pivot tables, you'll select your data range, go to the Insert tab and click Pivot Table. You can choose where to place the pivot table, either on the existing worksheet or on a new worksheet. The pivot table field list will populate based on the headings of your data set. To populate your pivot table, you would need to select from the list of headings provided and drag them into the areas either rows or columns or values. In my example, I chose the total sales per category. I added category to my rows and I added total sales to my values. Let us review what we've learned today. We started with an introduction to Excel, its interface, navigation, and terminology, followed by basic data entry and formatting. We then moved on to working with formulas and functions and learning basic calculations. Following that, we learned how to manage data, where we learned how to sort and filter and to use data validation. Then we learned about creating charts, and finally we learned about using data analysis tools such as conditional formatting and subtotals, and learned the basics of creating pivot tables. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, there is an exercise sheet which we would like you to complete. It is the same data that I used throughout the presentation, and it is broken down as follows. For the first exercise, which covers modules 1 and 2, we need to open a new Excel workbook. You save it with your name dash sales data. You enter the data as provided above. Format the header row. Apply currency formatting. Align the date. Wrap text in the product column and adjust your column widths. Then exercise 2, which covers module 3, you calculate the total sales in each row, so that's for rows 2 to 11. You then use the auto sum function to calculate the total sales for the entire data set, and then you use the average function to determine the average unit price. For exercise 3, that covers module 4, you need to sort your dataset by category, add a level to then sort by product. You would then add data validation to the quantity sold column, allowing only whole numbers greater than 0, and then add a data validation to the category, where you add the list of categories. So this is exactly as I had done it throughout the presentation. So it is not something Then exercise 4, which covers module 5, you will create a bar graph to see the sales amounts per product, add a title. If Excel automatically creates it, you then need to rename it to total sales by product. You can change the color to whatever you like, and then also create a pie chart showing the quantity of products sold per category. And finally, for exercise 5, we would apply conditional formatting to the total sales column for cells greater than 80 Rand. Set a rule to highlight cells with a green fill with dark green text. You would then create a pivot table and summarize the sales data by category. The pivot table needs to reflect the quantity sold and sales totals. And then finally, you would use subtotals to summarize the quantity sold per product. I would like to thank all of you for taking the time out to join us for today's session. As this is pre-recorded, it is shorter due to the missed opportunity to interact with you all, as well as to work through the exercises together. Please take the time to work through the exercises, as the practical application will go a long way in cementing the theoretical knowledge which you have gained. Once again, thank you all very much and have a good day.